The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
And welcome to On Cue. I'm your host, Eric Olson. On today's show, we will be talking about the Pope and paintings. Alice Holst and Bonnie Reitz will be joining us to talk about the Austin Artworks Festival and how you can become involved. Stephnee Leathers drops by to talk about the progress of downtown plans in Austin. And Father Jim Steffes from our local parish joins me to talk about the implications of the changing of the guard in Rome. Stay tuned for On Cue next.
From KSMQ Television in Austin, this is On Cue, connecting interesting issues and interesting people. On Cue.
Events surrounding the Pope's resignation, Pope Benedict XVI, have been in the news for weeks, along with the process of selection of the new Pope to lead the Catholic Church. Today we are joined by Father Jim Steffes to talk about the ins and outs of this change and a little personal story of meetings you've had with the Holy Father over the years. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Eric.
And let's put it in context with southeastern Minnesota. The Catholic Church has quite a presence in our region, does it not?
Yes, we have about 135 plus thousand Catholics in the Diocese of Winona, the southern part of the state of Minnesota.
Okay, and that stretches like across the
whole southern part, the 20 southernmost counties from Wisconsin over to South Dakota border.
Okay. And we've heard a lot in the news, of course, about, if you've been tuning in at all, that this decision by the Pope to resign has not happened in many, many years, 600 years.
That's correct.
So is there a sense of, were you surprised? Is it something where somebody who's in that business, you'll remember where you were when you heard that
Oh,
news?
absolutely. I will. I was actually home with my parents that morning when I got a call and we turned on the TV right away. I was shocked, like I think most of the world was, to hear that the Holy Father had resigned. I had heard some word that, something about the Holy Father. So at first I was concerned that the Lord had called him home or something, and I was shocked then to hear that he had resigned.
Well, certainly. I mean, naturally you'd think, what's wrong?
Right.
Because it's something that had never happened for many centuries.
Right. And then it wasn't until hearing exactly what had happened, all the speculation, was he hurt? Is he sick? Is he on his deathbed? But coming to hear then his own discernment and prayer, saying he felt this was the best thing for the church. After I got over the shock, I was just really in awe of him, as I have been through his 8 years of his papacy, that he would make a tough decision like that for the good of the church. Shows his great strength and humility.
Do things that happen in that level, that high level, ever really bubble down to regular people? I mean, us in the southeastern Minnesota, or it's been said that the church thinks in centuries, not months. So
right.
Does it really matter all that much on a practical level for folks?
Oh, I think it makes a huge significance. I would hope it would. He is the Supreme Pontiff, the Vicar of Christ on the earth, and what he does has great influence. Pope Benedict has had tremendous influence on the world, not only in the Catholic Church, but as a world leader. He is a spokesman for morals, for ethical living, and he has made a great impact. Being elected at an elderly age already, at 78, he's done tremendously, a lot more than people thought he would.
For folks not that familiar with the church, you can enlighten us, because one sees a leader like that and maybe compares it to a CEO of a company or a chairman of the board. That's kind of a context that many people can relate to, but it's
Sure.
different than that.
Oh, it is different. I mean, there's certainly a part of that. The church also runs as a business, so there's the administrative stuff. So in some ways, he's CEO. He has a large staff that helps with a lot of that. But more significantly, he's spiritual leader. He leads us ultimately to God. I mean, at a local level, that's my responsibility. I'm CEO of a couple parishes, and I do the administration, the personnel, but my main task is really to build up the faith life, the spiritual life of people, and ultimately lead them to God on this earth and eternally. That's what the Holy Father does worldwide.
And at a young age, you grew up in western Wisconsin, not far from our viewing area, right across the border in La Crosse, and you've had opportunities to be in Italy, in Rome, in Vatican City, during your studies, I would assume.
Right.
Talk about your travels there and getting a chance to meet him.
As a student, I had the great privilege of studying in Rome. My graduate work in theology, I lived for 4 years in Italy, in Rome, and attended the universities there. And the whole opportunity to study at the center of our Catholic faith was tremendous. And in the midst of that, to meet so many people, I had met Cardinal Ratzinger at that time,
that
Pope
was
Benedict,
his name before Pope.
when
Okay.
he worked for the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith. And just, I bumped into him crossing St. Peter's Square one late afternoon, early evening, and just stopped and had just a very brief hello conversation with him. Just tremendous. And then for him to become a pope and had that encounter with him was, and is, just, it's awesome to me.
And usually when you see folks in the religious press or stories about faith in the newspaper, they're usually cut and dried answers. I mean, they may differ depending upon what faith it is, but usually the people have answers about what's going to happen next and what the process is for whatever, if it's a doctrinal decision or whatever. But this one, you're seeing a lot of folks, leaders in the church saying, we're not all that sure how we're going to proceed because this hasn't happened in 600 years. You know, everything from what to call him afterwards.
Right. It's a whole new experience. None of us have ever experienced it in our lifetime. But there is a tradition that goes back many, many centuries. And then there's also more updated rules in which they follow this process. The College of Cardinals come together and they elect the new Holy Father. That's the number one, the top priority that the cardinals have in all the work they do for the church. They have this profound opportunity to elect the next Holy Father of the Catholic Church. So they come together and they cast ballots, and it's a majority of 2/3, and whoever they elect then that receives that majority becomes the Holy Father.
Are there ever any, do the documents come out about what goes on inside, like discussions, or are there presentations made? Do we know?
Well, they gather for prayer, certainly. They want to be guided by the Spirit. We always believe the Pope is the vicar of Christ, but the church is God's, and the Spirit works through them. So they gather for prayer, and then they do the election. What happens behind the closed doors is not known. It's secret.
I mean, I just wondered how practical it might be. I mean, for instance, from what we read, there's a large growth market, if you want to use that term, in the church in Africa. Mm-hmm. So would you suppose they would be looking at demographics and such?
Oh, I think so. I think a lot of conversations happen between the cardinals. They work with each other quite regularly in the different congregations of the church. They meet each other. They hold conversations. So they become familiar with each other. They know the demographics around the world, what's happening in Africa or South America or Asia. And they bring all of that together. So yes, a practical sense, but also guided by the Spirit. So they know the needs of the church, but our Lord knows even better. So mm-hmm. if they're open to the process and the working of the Holy Spirit, it's a wonderful, a new day, a new dawn for our church when the Holy Father is elected.
And along with that practicality, looking at the challenges of the church, probably, who is this person? Could they deal with the ongoing challenges, of which there are many, and controversial? They have to weigh on a person after many years of dealing with them.
Absolutely. I think that's what we saw in Pope Benedict and his discernment and the tough decision to say, I just don't have the strength at this age to do what I need to in this office as Holy Father. So they certainly look at that. What are the gifts that each cardinal holds? What are the strengths that they've already brought to the church? Certainly to govern the church, to have a pastoral, the heart of the Good Shepherd of Jesus Christ, to be able to know the demographics, what's happening in the third world country as well as in Europe or the United States. What's the growth? What is happening in the church right now? Are we in need of renewal? Do we need to be more in touch with immigration? So many issues, and they weigh all of that, I trust.
Well, Father Jim Steffes, thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
And sharing your views, and continued success here in Austin and southeastern Minnesota.
Thank you, Eric.
We will return with more of On Cue right after this. Don't go away.
You can watch On Cue anytime by visiting the KSMQ TV website, ksmq.org.
And welcome back to On Cue. I'm your host, Eric Olson. We're going to talk about some fun happenings for Austin this summer, later this summer. The Austin Artworks Festival. Were you there last year? Were you one of the 5,000 folks who took part in that inaugural event in wonderful downtown Austin? Well, it's coming back, and with bigger plans, if you can believe it, than the past year, than our first year. Second year's going to even be bigger. And let's talk about it now and learn about some things that the committee is working on. Bonnie Reitz and Alice Holst join us. Thank you for coming in.
You bet. It's nice to be here.
You've been keeping kind of a low profile here as you've been planning your next year's event. You had a wonderful success last year. I think it's safe to say bigger than you would have anticipated.
Oh, yes, most assuredly. When we started off, and it was about a year ago now that the planning started, and we just were keeping our fingers crossed, and as we were talking to artists and stuff, you know, really talking them into coming back to Austin and you know, showing their artwork or performing their music or, you know, presenting their books. It was a lot of work, and we had no idea how successful it would be, and it just turned out it was just grand.
So are we, if you come this coming year to the power plant, will it be similar in your vision, layout and the size and the, you know, stage, food vendors, all that kind of thing?
Not exactly, because we're trying to, this year we're, you know, upping the ante quite a bit. There'll be more of everything. So we're having a second stage for music. The authors will be in a different spot. We're having a different layout for the artists. We're expanding. We're using more space at the power plant. So it will be similar in that it starts off in the turbine room and things, but it'll be bigger and better than last year.
Are you learning how a power plant operates now since you've been in there so much? Alice, do you know how to run a power plant now?
Absolutely. I've got boiler 101. I got that down. Don't tell Mark.
Well, you folks at the end of the weekend, we had a small booth there also at inside the building, and everybody was just running around and crazy. And for a first-year event, volunteers are so important to help pull this event off. So we're looking for, or you're looking for, some folks with special skills or time. What are you looking for, Alice?
Absolutely not. No skills. All we need is willing hands and a happy heart, and someone who can smile a lot. We need a minimum of 250 volunteers to pull this event off. There's just so many things for people to do. Again, willing hands, happy heart, that'll work.
And not just during the days of the event.
During the days is certainly very critical. We need lots of people, but then also about 3 days before the event is all of the setup, and believe me, there's lots of that to do, getting everything set up for the artists. Yeah, it's amazing all the things that volunteers do to get it all ready to go. And then when the event is over at 5 o'clock on Sunday, then everything has to be taken down, and we helped all the artists get a lot of their stuff taken down. So there's just there's plenty to do, and we'd love to see, as I said, a minimum of 250, but if there's 500 volunteers, I'll keep them busy.
And this is August, or they can sign up now for?
Yes, and there's actually on the website,
AustinArtworksFestival.org.
AustinArtworksFestival.org, and then when you click on that, right over on the left-hand side, if there's a little menu of things and it says volunteers, when you open that up, there's a little form that you fill out with just your name, your phone number, if you have any preference of anything you'd like to do, and if not, then we'd love to see, as I say, hundreds of people do that. So right now, that's the way that we're hoping to get volunteers, and of course, we'll all be tapping on people's shoulders saying, Eric, wouldn't you love to take an hour?
Absolutely. Loved it last year.
Because last year the volunteers, it was just mostly the committee, and so there was about 9 or 10 people that did all of the volunteering, so they didn't have any time to really see what was going on. So we're just hoping.
We were pretty tired when it was over.
Right.
I can imagine. Now, Bonnie,
Yeah.
you snuck in there that second stage.
Yeah.
And you just
Yes.
kind of, did you notice, folks? It was like 2 minutes ago, she said, and we're adding a second stage, and just kind of went on. But this is kind of a big deal, a big step forward for the festival.
And you know, it's absolutely amazing. The number of people from Austin who, either grew up here or have performed here or went to school here or have some connection with the city of Austin. And that's the fun factor of our festival. And we were able to do it last year. We're doing it again this year. We don't know about next year. We'll see. But everybody coming in has a connection with Austin. And so it's absolutely amazing that there's still many more people out there who didn't perform or who didn't come last year who are interested in coming. We keep hearing about people, reading about people. It's just amazing, those connections.
With the Marcusson Park stage concert event, that's really a move to a different location, and some very well-known bands, especially from the Twin Cities metro area. It will be hopefully a regional draw for them. Talk a little bit about those groups.
Well, we're expecting, because of the Saturday, one of the biggest, probably the biggest change and biggest addition this year is the Saturday evening concert. And what you're going to do is follow the flags from the historic downtown power plant on 4th Avenue, go down to the corner of 4th and Main, follow the flags all the way down Main Street to Marcusson Park. And we are having an outdoor concert at Marcusson Ballpark. And Martin Zeller's coming back home, well known here in Austin and throughout the Midwest. And actually, he's from Austin, Texas, so well known there. And then Cloud Cult is a group not so well known here in Austin, but very well known up in the cities. So we're going to get the word out about them. But one of the reasons that we chose them, in addition to their wonderful music and that they're very popular in the cities, when they perform, 2 people are painting on stage, and when they finish, there are 2 paintings that are completed that are then sold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really, really fun for an artworks festival.
It's tailor-made. And one of the musicians has Austin roots, I believe.
Yes.
The violin player, I believe. Is
Shannon
from.
Freed is from Austin. And then also in Martin's band, Nick Ciola is coming back with him, and he's from Austin. So another name that most people know.
Sure. And some food vendors, perhaps. I know there were some on the festival grounds last year. So they'll be back, I suppose.
They'll be back, and even more different ones. And then out at Marcusson Ballpark, the Marcusson people are going to be roasting a hog for everyone.
Okay.
And then there'll be vendors and wine and beer at Marcusson Park with the festival.
They've done some work out at the park in just the past few years, so it'll be ready for a showcase for a nice event there.
Yep.
And I think another great draw, and last year very popular for the children, well, and the adults too, was Paint the Beetle.
Yeah.
There was the Volkswagen Beetle Bug, and just had, the kids had so much fun with that, and there was just a lot of chatter, about that. So that'll be back.
Yep. And with that and more activities for the kids.
For the kids. Other things, so there was some other vendors there that had things for the kids to do, to be able to do their own painting and things. So
very nice. And we should mention that there's no admission charge. on the festival grounds, I'm calling it now, the power plant
Ask
building.
Mark Niebar, the director of the utilities, about that.
Exactly.
It's not the utilities, it's the festival fair, it's the festival grounds, yes.
But no admission charge for folks who have not been to it before. They just head downtown and go, and there's parking around. There's some parking there.
Right across the street is the parking for the arena. So there's parking literally for hundreds of people right across the street.
Okay.
So parking won't be a problem.
No, it isn't a problem. Another thing too, all of the activities at the historic downtown power plant are free, but we are charging for Martin Zeller and Cloud Cult Saturday night.
Alice Holst and Bonnie Reitz,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you.
your service to the community, my goodness, and thank you for this wonderful update. Hope to have you back again real soon.
Great. Thank you, Eric.
Coming up next, our weekly look at the Vision 2020 process, another update when we come right back.
Queue up your own comments for On Cue and send them to us at onq@ksmq.org. On Cue's Vision 2020 segment is brought to you by Hormel Foundation, Games People Play, and Turtle Creek Estates.
And welcome back to On Cue. It's time for our weekly look at the Vision 2020 project, what's going on, and we're going to head downtown to downtown Austin and talk to Stephnee Leathers about some exciting things happening downtown. You've been meeting every 2 weeks. You've been a very busy person.
We have been.
What's going on? You have some pictures to show us about some possibilities on how the downtown might look a little different.
We do. We have been working on an initiative to better develop the downtown Park Plaza area. And that includes a stage, which you can see a picture of.
Wow. Now that's just an artist's, it might not look like, that's our dream stage right
Well,
there,
this is an architectural drawing that we've had created, and this has been approved by the City Council.
And for anybody who might, when I first looked at these pictures, we have a before picture also of the same location. So that's, as it is now, that open area and the lot next to it, where last year there were some musical groups that would use that open acreage right downtown for a show. Now we're going to make it, you're going to make it a little formalized, more of a stage to bring folks in.
Exactly. So there's the Park Plaza area, and then adjacent to that, as you noted, we hope to do some landscaping to that lot so that it can really be utilized by the community, and hopefully we'll plan some events, and we'll have a kickoff at the end of May so that we can really start to allow the community and visitors to utilize the space.
And are we talking about a way to try to tell out-of-town people, like something that would be advertised to get them downtown, or just for the local community?
Certainly, I think it's for our community, but we also want to look at drawing visitors in from other communities as well. So it's a dual purpose for sure.
And they have to be, when they get downtown, if it's an evening thing, you'll want them to have options on, dining or other shops that are open.
This is certainly, hopefully, going to be a very good thing for the businesses downtown. And also, longer term, we hope that people will return to Austin and find it an enjoyable place to experience.
And Stephanie's group and Stephnee, they're not one to want to delay very much. In fact, when we were talking about this, so how many years out are you planning this? And you said, well, how about 1 month? You want to get this up and going this year.
We do. We think it's a great opportunity. We're leveraging space that already exists, and pending funding from the community, we really want to get this launched by the end of May. So
you've already received City Council approval for this change. So it's gone through all the design, whatever city planning phase.
Yeah.
What about funding? Will there be fund drives or ways for the community to help out?
Well, as you noted, we're moving pretty fast. We're hoping to get grants as well as funding from other city organizations and the community at large and businesses. So we are starting the fundraising, and anyone that's interested can email me. My email's on the Vision 2020 site, and we are hopeful that we'll be able to get this project done.
And this is part of what you're calling Downtown Destination, or your committee. Are there other, besides this one? I mean, this is obviously a major undertaking, but are there other things that are maybe down the down the way a little bit?
That's a good point. Under our vision statement, it also talks about how we can further develop the businesses in downtown. We do have on our list to look at some of the vacancies and how we could potentially get businesses to come to downtown. So that's kind of the second phase of this project, is really looking at how can we leverage downtown even more than it is currently. So
we have a club going in, isn't there, next to the dance studio?
I didn't know that.
I think I saw it in the paper the other day.
Okay.
They were talking about that. And I don't know about the bank building. I mean, during the Christmas time, the radio KUS was in there.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing actually currently planned for the bank building, but I know that some people on our committee are working with an organization here in Austin, the Arts Center, potentially, and we're always looking at ways to utilize what's available. So it is a big part also of our committee. So everyone is really busy, and it's really a great initiative. So
wonderful. Thank you for your service there,
Thank you.
Stephnee, and for coming in. And thank you for joining us for this edition of On Cue. I'm Eric Olson. See you again next time. So long.
On Cue is a production of KSMQ Television in Austin, nonprofit public television.